Hello, everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations out of Flower Mound, Texas. Today is June 16th, and I'm finally back to share with you my final alternatives made with the May 2022 paper pumpkin named Celebrating in Color. Those of you that have subscribed to my channel, thanks for finding me again, and I hope this video gives you some inspiration. If you are new to my channel, I'd really appreciate if you would hit the subscribe button below, and to receive notifications of when I post my next videos, hit the bell. They say ring the bell, but the bell button just below here. And always check in my comments for links to my blog site where still pictures would be and or any specials coming out. So I do want to share these two alternatives with you. And then I realized I hadn't used all my material, so I made these simple cards here. So I did use the circle out of this in a previous video. I believe it was my first one that I did with the alternatives. And so I just used this. I hadn't used the gold U's, and I layered them with different circles of the Orchid Oasis. And for a little interest, I put the punch leaf, which is called the bow leaf or bow leaf, and then some gold sequins to go with the gold. This one I did the same sort of thing. I just used a die cut from the Eden's Garden, and then I used some coordinating dots that are available through the Stampin' Up! Store and in the catalog. So I just wanted to share those first because I said I've used all the materials and I hadn't, but that there uses just about all the materials. So now on to these final two alternatives. So I'm going to start with the one with the banner. As it's intended, the banner is supposed to go here, but I really like this gold card and didn't want to cover that up. So I just used it on its own. So I have a little kit here with everything I need in it so I can make it along with you. So the first thing I do when I did this is I measured the banner. Let me get a ruler. And the banner is 2 7/8 it looks like. So I cut a piece of 3-inch black cardstock, and then I cut it just a little longer than the piece, which is at 5 inches. So I just wanted to mat it to help it stand out against the white. So that's what I did. And so then you just want to cut to make your own banner. And really the easiest way to do this is to glue it on lightly. So I'm going to get my Tombow glue that I have in a mini bottle. And I'm just going to put a few dots to glue it to the top. And the only reason I'm doing this is if I mess it up, it'll be easier to take off. So hopefully I won't mess it up. Okay, so that looks about equal. Don't know if that shows. Okay, so then I'm going to I'll give that a second just to dry. All right, and then I'm going to take my scissors and go up to the top and start here and go to that center. Now, if it looks a little bigger, always start with bigger because you can trim it down to smaller border later. And then since I'm right-handed, this one always is trickier for me. So I'm going to even that up. Whoops. All right, and I think that looks pretty good to me. All right, so these are my trash. So then I take a regular card base and I have pre-embossed a white piece of the painted texture embossing folder. And on this one, it looks like I cut it down. So I'm going to do the same thing just because, I don't know, I have a hard time lining things up directly with the paper. And I think it looks a little more layered if you have a frame around. So let me get out my trimmer. And I'm going to trim this down. can see that. I'll try to put that up. So I'm going to do this one to, I think 4 by 5 1/4 looks about what I did this one. Let me just check. Yes, it is. I'm going to trim this to 4, 5, 5 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so now we can glue this on our card base. I believe this is a card base extra from the kit. We received several blank card bases in the kit. So I take my Tombow and I just go around like that. Then I'm going to set it on my card. And because this card base is a little thinner, I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of rub the glue around so I don't have any bumps of glue on the inside of the card. So hopefully that'll spread that around. Okay, the next thing I did was I put this on dimensionals and I put the happy straight on top of it. So let me get some dimensionals. I did my best to line it up with the top. Let me put that back in view for you. Okay, and then I use every bit of my dimensionals. Whoops, that one went flying. I'll put a little here for support. Okay, just take the backings off. Set that aside. Okay, got them all. And then I just want to line this up with the top, kind of in the center. So there you go. And then I'm going to put this happy here, but first I'm going to stamp my sentiment of birthday. And that is from the Biggest Wish stamp set, which is right here. It's a great one for all occasions. And to do that, I'm going to use my Stamparatus. And we will use this one in a minute. Get a blank plate. I could flip that one over, but I'm pretty sure I have a blank one. And I'm going to need my deluxe mat because this is a photo polymer set. This is if you have the Stamparatus, I highly recommend this deluxe mat because one, it gives you the grid lines here for your photo polymer stamp sets versus just the black thing. All right, let me get the birthday. And I already have this was actually a scrap that looks like it's just big enough for the birthday. So let me get this in view. Sorry about that. So what you want to do is you do not want to try to stamp right here in the corner. If I were to cut this piece to size, then I would have to stamp here. But with the hinge and everything, it doesn't ink as well over here. So either move your paper out. I also have created a shim with a piece of the cardboard that comes in your paper pumpkin product. That way, if I had cut that, I could put this here and still line it up and it would be away from that corner. So that's a good thing you can do with your cardboard that comes in your paper pumpkin kit to help move your stamps aside. It's just create a shim. All right, so here's what I'm going to do to show you why I love the deluxe mat. So it looks pretty lined up, but if you want to make sure, you can ink this. And I'm going to ink it just lightly with the Memento Black. Now you do not want to use a StazOn on this mat because it may not come off. And I realize that's not stamped all the way, but all I want to know is it straight? And it looks very straight. So since I know that's straight, why I love the deluxe mat, I can just wipe that away. I know that it's straight. And I can put my paper back in. And now we're going to ink it for real. Now sometimes on these bold images, you don't get a solid stamp. Mine has been used quite a few times, so it may stamp more solid than yours. But always keep a little white eraser, something like this, around. And you can rub that across your photopolymer stamps to help take off any film from the factory. That'll help it stamp clearer. Okay, that's pretty good, but I'm going to try again. It looks like I have something on my stamp right there. The other thing that helps your Stamparatus is to put your stamp set here. And that helps your plate to stay flat. I don't know if they did that on purpose or someone just discovered that right away. Okay, because I want a good bold black image. So the Stamparatus allows me to go right back on top if I was careful and didn't move my paper. I forgot to double check. Okay, I like that image. So here's another tip. I love the simple chamois. It's quite hot here in Texas, so I keep a wet paper towel on top of it. Helps it not dry out. And I first clean my stamp with this paper towel so that my chamois doesn't have to be washed out as often. And I go back in with my chamois to get off any others. So that's just a tip you can do. If I had it on my block, I would just stamp it here on the paper towel first and then clean it off. But otherwise it would dry out quite quickly. All right, so we're done with the Stamparatus for this card. I do need my trimmer back out. I could probably hand cut that, but since I have my trimmer here. So let's see, this one I made about 2.5 inches. So mainly I'm looking to see, do I have equal border? And it kind of looks like I might. Yep, I like that. So there's our birthday. A little bit of Post-it tape there. All right, so now you want to kind of align where you want everything. I think that looks good. So I'm going to get my Tombow liquid glue. This thing helps me just, one, if I have a tiny thing, get into the tiny spaces, but it helps me not ooze out too much glue. And then on this one, some of the happy is going to hang off, so I know I don't have to glue all the way on the edges. And I want this at an angle. Try to get equal spacing there. But if my glue oozed, I try to wipe it while it's still wet, especially after I moved it. And then the final step for this card would just be to add some kind of embellishment. I had these gold stars from previously retired set. That's not them. I think it's these. What are they called? Metallic sequins assortment. Or you can use any other embellishments you may have on hand. So that is I believe it's my 8th alternative. And now to my favorite. So this flower comes from the, I don't know the name of it, and I had to borrow these because I sold my final pack. But anyway, these are on the last chance list. I believe it's the Flower and Butterfly decorative masks. And there are so many beautiful masks here. You can make your own background with this, and with this one. And then these, and I hadn't used them yet. And so when I went to make this card, I wanted a flower, and I thought I would give this a try, and I ended up loving the results. So let me get my packet that has those supplies, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to do. My envelope. Here's a piece of white scrap I have. So these I had to borrow from my downline because I had 2 classes last week with this kit, and they really wanted this to finish their cards up. So I sold them mine, and then I could order another one. but it's not in yet. So I just asked if I could borrow her so I could finally get this video done. So one thing I like to use when I use this decorative mask is a laminated platform. So I had pre-laminated some grid paper that I can use that if I get ink all over everything, it easily wipes up. So you may just want to stick this down. I have some washi tape here. Used washi tape. Can use it again. And I'm just going to use this to hold it in place. Now I'm not concerned about covering up all these other things because we're going to fussy cut out this flower. So if I happen to get some red on there, I'm not that worried about it. So then you need a blending brush, and I love these blending brushes. It helps the ink go on so smooth. And then I'm going to get my two colors. I used the Sweet Sorbet for the lighter color and Real Red for the darker color. Get those. And here's my Sweet Sorbet, and my Real Red is hiding from me. And you know what? I have all my spots right here, so I'll just grab my spot for now. Okay, so we're going to start with our lightest color. So I'll show you another reason why I love a laminated mat. And this could be anything that's non-porous. So I put ink on my thing, and then I start off to the side just to get the ink flowing and to see how dark it is. Because I want this first layer to be not very dark. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to close my Sweet Sorbet. Now you want to release this. And before you move anything, you might just want to check it. It doesn't look like much now, but wait till we do this next layer. So if you've missed these in the catalog, I think this is a great addition to add to your stash. So you want to line this more detailed. I call this one the more open flower. So it helps to do these flowers and the center of the big flower. So I'm going to tack that down. I got my head in the camera. I apologize. So here's a tip if you just have spots. You can do this on a block, or I'm going to do it here on my mat. I'm going to put some Real Red ink down. And since this is one dedicated to reds, and I know what's on there is a lighter color, I'm not that worried about it. If you wanted to, you could get some scrap paper. I have lots. And take off some of the color. As you can see, there's not much color there, so I'm not that worried about it. Now I'm going to pick up the red. I'm going to start off again. Now I'm going to go in with this darker Real Red color. This one I do want pretty bright so that there's contrast between the two flowers. And it almost gives it a 3D look. I really wish I knew where my big pad was, but this helps show if you only have spots. I'm going to put a little more color down. Pick that up. Now, if you haven't done these and you're going to do 2 cards, I would first do the Sweet Sorbet. Do both of those with the more open mask because your Real Red will be dark. So I want to peek at this. Let's see if it's like I like it. You know what, I'm going to leave that one because that kind of holds the paper in place. Oh, I think I like that. And each time you may get a little different look, and that's okay. It's all art. And like I said, I'm not worried about the color on the edge because I'm going to fussy cut out this flower. So when I'm done with a blending brush, I do like to get off as much color as possible. And lots of times a paper towel will pick up even more. Let me see if I have one over here. I don't want to use my wet one. I don't clean these. I have one dedicated to each main color family. But I like to just get off the color. If that's shaking the camera, I apologize. My camera is attached to my table. I guess I can do that gentler. And it's clean enough because any color of red is going to be used for that one. All right, so now we're going to fussy cut out the flower. And fussy cutting may not be your favorite thing, but this one is not hard. I probably should have had one done ahead of time, but bear with me as I work this around. Cut off that paper, that helps a little bit. So I'm just going to go into these flowers a little bit. So what do y'all think about this flower? I really like it. I'm kind of sad now I haven't used it. I really didn't notice that it was retiring until I went to make this, and I was like, oh my goodness. What a gem I had not been playing with that I had in my stash. But I do keep my favorites, and this is going to go in my favorite stash. I pretty much have all the masks. I keep them, they're relatively inexpensive, and you can make your own designer series paper with it, patterned paper, in any color you have in your craft room. Okay, almost done. This one may not be as perfect. I'm trying to hurry. Okay. There's our fussy cutout flower. Get rid of my trash here. Okay, so we have the base that's from your kit, and the flower is going to go here on dimensional. Now, I thought it needed a little more interest, and I had some new product that I wanted to use. Put this one up. And it's called the Nature's Prints and the Nature Prints dies. So I love all things with greenery, and this wreath cuts out beautiful detail. And it also has a label, which I love getting ones with labels. So I have die cut these leaves in the Parakeet Party. And then I'm going to stamp my detailed leaf with you. And if you haven't seen my video on how to get perfectly aligned die cuts, check that out. I love that technique. This one we do not need the deluxe plate because it's a red rubber. And now, hope I didn't lose my template. So what I do is I first stamp. Well, I put this in the corner, and it got a little wet when someone cleaned the stamp. So it's a little wrinkly, but hopefully it'll work. I stamp this first, okay? And then I have a mask, for lack of a better word, of any color. Here it is. It's green. So when I go to die cut it, I line this up over my image and then die cut it. And this helps me get it just centered. And you can set your die. It'll snap right in there. And you can washi tape it down so it doesn't move and cut it out. So then you know all you have to do is cut white pieces blank, as many as you want, and you can come back in here And like I said, this is going to be dependent on my template that got wet, but let's give it a try. So here's my parakeet party. And I'm going to ink it. Put this underneath just so it lays flat. Got a hair on there. All right, so let's give this a try. So what it also helped me do is not put it right on the edge. And that's fairly good. Some of the ink didn't come off. Let me press a little harder. All right. And sometimes I like to add a shim. That got it pretty good. But I'm going to take my pad and do it again. I think it needs just a little on the inside. But I have out my big pad and not my spot I made myself. I'm okay if it's darker. But I really need this left-hand side because that's what shows on here. Now I have seen, oh, I like that. I have seen a lot of people take their blender pen and then start blending this ink more. But I'm happy with the way that looks. It's just to add a little greenery to our card. All right, so I'm gonna do like I said. I take this wet paper towel, get off a bunch of it so I don't gunk up my chamois. And this is a quarter of a chamois. I cut it in half, and on one half I cut it apart again so I don't have this big pad to flop around on my Stamparatus. All right, so that's how I do that. Again, I do have a video of how to do this and to get the perfectly created, matting around your die cut. So check out that video for the tips I have on that. All right, so now it's time to put our card together. I'm going to, first I line everything up kind of like I like it. And you want to leave room for your sentiment. And I have some pre-cut labels. This is a label from that set I just showed you. I may not stamp the sentiment because it doesn't matter what sentiment I put on there. This could be for many occasions. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to glue that down. This is a beautiful leaf. I really like it. All right. And these are teeny tiny. But that's okay. You really don't need a lot. Okay, and then I'm going to get my dimensionals and put that on the flower. I'm almost out of dimensionals on this sheet. I really like Stampin' Up's dimensionals because I just think they're the perfect height. Some that I've bought at the big box stores, I think they're twice this height, and it's a little too much, I think, on some cards. So I really like the Stampin' Up dimensionals. Okay, and as you've seen, I cut them in half, the large ones. I find that half is enough. You can line this up however you like it. And so there's our card minus the sentiment, which I will decide my sentiment and put it on there. Another tip, I do the same thing with my sentiments in my die envelope. I keep a template so that I can put this in my Stamparatus, put this in, and I want you to notice, well, I happen to do it right. it's not exactly symmetrical. So, see? I don't know, does that show up? So it only goes in this way. And a lot of the dies are that way. I find it interesting. So just work which way is symmetrical, and then you can stamp, and that's how I put it in my Stamparatus. So, and then I keep this in my die set, so if I ever want to do one of those, I can just punch it out, set it up, check it out on my deluxe mat, and do as I did the other flower. So I thought I would bring over my box of all my made cards. I'm hoping my June kit comes in soon, so I can do an unboxing with you guys. Now I haven't quite finished my cards. I've been kind of busy this week, but I found this old retired die that I kept in my stash, and I love it on this envelope one. So I did several of those. This I showed in my video. There I colored one with the sweet sorbet. Here's my first card that uses this circle out of this card that I showed you, and this is an envelope. You can make 5 of these cards with the banners and just a little extra cardstock. Here I cut that card front in half and used it. Here I used the sweet sorbet that has a U in it. I just wasn't that fond of that U, so I came up with this. I really like this gold, which I didn't want to cover up, so I had a stamp from a paper pumpkin set that said, "You are amazing." So I stamped it, and Fussy cut out that. Here's one using the Poppy Moments dies. Here's one that shows that detailed wreath in that die set. The Nature's Prince die set. I just love that. And then here are my happies. You can create 2 of each color with this one, and you'll just have to make your own happies or another sentiment that you like. Here are 2 where when I miscut my paper for my envelopes, I wasn't going to let that go to waste, so I just made my own. This is from the Paradise Palm set. I like that palm. And that is what we've made so far with this kit. So I hope you've enjoyed these alternates. Please give me a thumbs up if you like them, and I love to read your comments. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments below, and I read those and we'll get back to you. And hopefully, like I said, I will be getting the June paper pumpkins soon. It's not in the next couple days because it hasn't even made it to my post office yet. But I hope you like these alternates, and I hope you found some inspiration to expand your kit beyond their original designs. So thanks for joining me today. Again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And until my next video, happy crafting.